In this essay, I want to talk about one of my favorite filmmakers and one of his most important works. Parajanov was born in 1924 in Georgian USSR. In his 40s, he directed Shadows of Our Ancestors, a film about Ukrainian Hutzul village. After this work, he disowned all of his previous films, calling them garbage, and has managed to develop his own unique cinematic style, which later brought him international recognition and fame, as well as 15 years of imprisonment for homosexuality and Ukrainian nationalism. Although The Shadows of Our Ancestors is a remarkable film, highly appreciated in Ukraine and abroad, I want to talk about The Color of Pomegranates, one of his most important works, often recognized at the culmination of his artistic career. The film tells the story of an Armenian poet and singer, Sayat Nova. Based on his life and art, it has a free and abstract form of narrative. The entire film is filled with Parajanov's reflections on the events of the poet's life rather than with strictly historical facts. Parajanov himself asks to perceive the film open-mindedly in his introduction speech in the beginning of the feature. Dear viewer, do not look for the biography of the great Armenian poet of the 18th century Sayat Nova in this movie. We only tried to convey the imaginative world of his poetry, about which the Russian poet Valery Brusov wrote. The medieval Armenian lyric is one of the most remarkable victories of the human spirit, which only the annals of the whole world knew. The frames of the film are largely based on the aesthetics of Persian miniatures, while having a lot of symbols and references to Christianism, Armenian culture, as well as key places and objects from the life of Sayat Nova. It's common for Persian miniatures to showcase lovers in a kind of gender-fluid way, with both having similar if not identical facial features. This helps to emphasize the connection between them, turning them into a reflection of one another. The same can be seen in Parajanov's Color of Pomegranates. In this film, Sofiyka Chiaureli plays the poet Sayat Nova, his love, as well as 4 other characters. At the same time, Color of Pomegranates reminds of the early chapters in the history of cinema. Parajanov constructs his frames in a very theater-like manner, using an almost square format in which we observe the entire stage. His frames are long and static like Warhol's Empire State Building, and at the same time they are breathing with movement. Another interesting feature of the film is rhythm. In Color of Pomegranates, I was able to find 5 different aspects of rhythm. Visual rhythm. Be it a repetition of objects in the background or the position of the characters, the film feels like an endless pattern to me, often very geometrical in its structure. Repetitive actions. In many of the scenes we can see characters in the middle of a repetitive action, throwing to the ground freshly dyed clothes, or jumping from stone to stone like in this frame. These movements almost always follow the horizontal or vertical axis, highlighting even more the geometry of the frame as well as giving a feeling of flatness, like that of a drawn miniature. Cut. One of the things that stood out to me during the first time I saw the film was the rhythm of cut. Color of Pomegranates consists of almost still scenes that come one after another following a specific rhythm that gives an impression of almost something musical when observing the film as a whole. Here I suggest to take a look at one of the scenes of Color of Pomegranates with a metronome in order to highlight the rhythm of actions and cut. Editing. In Color of Pomegranates, Parajanov often catches a movement and then repeats it a couple of times in order to create a surrealistic feeling of rhythm. Like in this scene, the man turns the head, and then he does it again. Or here. Sound. Even though it's almost not spoken in the film, it has an outstanding sound with music by Tigran Mansuryan as well as some natural sounds of the background. In some of the frames we can hear repetitive sounds of church bells or steps that set the rhythm for the whole frame. Altogether, if I had to pick one association with the film, it would be a Persian carpet. Full of color, elaborate forms and symbols, repetitive in its essence, with a great attention to detail. With no doubt, one can say that The Color of Pomegranates had a long-lasting impact on the development of cinema. It has often been referenced and cited by other filmmakers as well as in pop culture. I hope I managed to share some of my fascination with Parajanov's work and inspire you to watch Color of Pomegranates, which is by the way available on YouTube. In this essay, I relied on previous research on the topic as well as on my personal impression from the film, and therefore I would like to share the links to various videos, papers and articles I found in the process of creating this video. Thank you for your attention and goodbye.